Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy Lotus Awakening, and we are back today with another Tekken 8 video. And for today's video, we're going to be talking about Victor's counter hit game, wall carry combos, setups to enforce your wall running too, and some wall setups that you can incorporate in your game, and it can obviously take you to the next level where you want to get to Victor. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, Victor has a very strong counter hit game. And I wouldn't say it's one of the best in the game, but it's definitely up there where a lot of his counter hits hit hard. Now, obviously, if you play Victor, you know the counter hits I'm going to go into, but I'm going to show you some routes. We're going to talk about it and the use of each one of them so you guys can get a better understanding how to use these tools in neutral and stuff. So the first one we're going to be talking about here is 1+2. 1+2 is a mid that on block is -8, so it's a safe mid that comes out at 15 frames, and if your opponent decides to press, obviously it'll counter hit. One of Victor's fantastic tools that you need to start using. Now, I've been using this way more, especially after I had a comment on one of the other videos that came from a God of Destruction Victor, and he kind of convinced me that Victor is more around the counter hit game. And while I do agree that Victor is a counter hit character, I don't believe that's solely his purpose, because I do think he has a lot of other tools that make him what he is, right? But this man's comments were pretty damn, we'll say, insightful, and it gave me a lot of thought, and that's why, like, I've been sitting here mostly in the lab and trying to figure out more stuff with Victor, and I'm applying these more to my game, and I really do believe that you guys should apply this to yours as well. So 1+2 is very good, as we're like, if you're like having good neutral, right, and you're having good movement, if somebody whiffs and stuff, this will catch them, and then if that catches them, you get your full launcher combo. And this is something that you could even do like when you're up close, like when you're playing like way better players, if they're respecting up here and you know they're about to press, boom, it'll hit them like that. So it's stuff like that where you'll incorporate it in your game, where you're pressuring your opponent and you think they're going to press, and the minute you think they are, you would 1+2 them. Same thing goes in neutral. If they whiff in neutral, you would just throw that out, not that, and then boom, counter hit launch. The next one here is down back 4. Now, down back 4, I always thought was a very bad low, and while it is a bad low, it has a lot of properties to it that make me like really rethink to use it, because I used to use this to get my damage and stuff, and obviously it is a huge counter hit to Victor's game. And down back 4 for me now, I'm using this more when I'm expecting my opponent to mash on wake up, when my opponent is going to throw out highs and stuff, because obviously down back 4 ducks highs. It low crushes that. Oh, sorry, it high crushes. It high crushes that, and you have this move then that takes up so much like space right here, because I'm like right here, it's still covering a good amount of ground. Like that's really good. Like that will hit from that range. So down back 4 needs to be used a lot more and stuff like that. Like you still have your down 3 as your poke, you still have down 4, which we'll get to for another counter hit, and you still have 1-3, which is really good if people are not blocking low. You still have tools, right? You still have your good poking tools where you can sit here and chip away at your opponent. You also have up 2 and then down 2, obviously, to chip away. And down back 4 would always be used then to make a read on somebody mashing, or if somebody throws out a high, obviously you go right under it and boom, full counter hit launch. The next one is wall running 2. Wall running 2 obviously got its counter hit properties changed from the last update that we had, and this obviously now gives you newer routes, and you'll see those routes very soon. This is very good because obviously if it gives us our +5, and then if you don't want to go into EI stance, if your opponent thinks you're going to go into it, you can just let it rock naturally at +2, and they still have to hold +2. +2 is still going to be a problem for a lot of characters, so this is very good to use. And obviously when the counter hit happens, you always have to be ready to go right into EI stance. This is something that you always want to use. Now be careful with wall running 2, because obviously wall running 2 can be sidestepped now, because they made a lot of Victor's move more sidesteppable. So be careful with throwing out wall running 2, but understand that this is a very good counter hit tool to be using. We have 2 more counter hit tools, and then we're going to move on to the wall carry combos. Down 4. I went over this in the last video. Down 4 is really good. 30 damage off of a counter hit low. Obviously on block, -14, so it is launch punishable to certain characters in this game that have 13 or 14 frame launchers. So also be careful with that, because characters like Kazuya, Jun, Jin, And I'm trying to remember. There's a couple other characters that I can't right now, but a lot of other characters can launch this, so be careful with this. Or they can, if they can't launch it, they can hit you with a nice little chunk of damage that you're not going to want to throw out this time anytime. So down 4, really good. Always throw this out when you're like playing neutral stuff, if you're poking and stuff, if your opponent decides to mash, that'll catch them, and boom, 30 damage is coming your way. The last one here is wall standing 2. Very good counter hit. Now, I've used this a lot in my videos. I've used this for stuff like this. Like, we'll take them off for counter hit so you can see what I mean. So stuff like this is great because it's -8 on block, so you're not gonna get punished. But if somebody decides to mash here, which I have ran into a lot of players that think that they can press off of down back 4, because down back 4, if you see in the bottom left, is +4 on hit. So with that being +4, and while standing 2 is 14 frames, it'll come out in 10 frames then. So if somebody decides to mash, then the end result will be this: counter hit launch. And if they get launched, you're gonna get your nice little route. So use down back 4, and if you see it hit, obviously if it's not on counter hit, if you see it hit though, always do while standing 2, since it is a safe mid, and obviously if they do get hit, you can fully launch them. Obviously if they block it, you just lose your turn, and they get to take their turn back. So it's a very good move that you need to be using. You can also throw it on a neutral too, so don't be afraid to. So like if you see like a high, you can always throw it out, and then boom, full launch. All right, the next section here that we're going to be talking about is wall carry combos. And it goes in line with the counter hit game. So I'm going to show you some new routes. Obviously, you've probably seen some of these routes, but it's always good to refresh some people's memories if they don't know about the new routes that Victor can do. So first one we're going to start with is 1+2. So this is the route you want to take with Victor. $83 damage, really solid, and obviously if you can tell, the wall carry on it is amazing. Now, if you do not want to spend the heat, you could do this route instead. I think I did the wrong one. Yeah, here it is. You could do something like that. Now, this little setup here, we'll get to that later. So you could do something like that too if you don't want to spend your heat. Next one is down back 4. Down back 4 has a lot of interesting routes. So the first one that you have here is this. Again, it ends in the same way. You always want to pop your heat if you want that extra damage. 96 damage, really good. The other route, obviously, if you do not want to spend any heat for this, pop your heat, and you would do the same thing here. Next one is while running 2. While running 2 is a little bit more flexible when it comes to using EI stance for 2. So, watch this. Same ender, 90 damage, and fantastic wall carry. And the same thing applies with, if you do not want to use heat, just pop it, and then you have your setup here. Next one here is wall standing 2. So we talked about this before, counter hit launch. Now you can obviously launch it for big damage now with this new route that you can take. $86 damage. Again, fantastic wall carry. These are like routes, obviously, that are easy to do when it comes to doing it in an infinite stage. Now, you will have to change your routes when it comes to smaller stages, so also be careful of that. But you can do this on most stages, though. It's not like you can't. If you're at a wall and you get a counter hit launch, then you can go wall to wall. Victor has the privilege in doing that on a lot of these maps, so remember to always change up your routes if you're not where you need to be on screen. The next thing we're going to talk about is the setup that you guys have seen a little bit of in this video so far. And this setup is quite interesting. Now, I've seen this through Twitter. Now, it's not my setup I came up with. It's from somebody on Twitter. I can't remember the person's name right now. And this is very good. because this provides you different Oki now for Victor. So the way you would want to start, it could go with any route. It can come off of a counter hit, it can come off of anything. As long as you end it the same way, then you will get this setup all the time. So here it is. So this right here. Now, this right here beads side left and side right. So if they're on the ground and they roll to the left or they roll to the right, this will beat it every time. Now, obviously, I don't have them set to mashing, but in the video that I did see, he did show that if you are caught mashing, if you side roll into mash, then this will counter hit launch, and then you just do your next route, right? So this setup here is fantastic, and this provides Victor Oki mid-screen on a lot of things now. So now you could do something like this. Again, off of any route, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you end it the same. Now you're in their face, and now you have your game, right? Now you have your pressure. Now you have your mix-up tools. You have a lot at your disposal now when it comes to going into EI stance. So this setup is going to be something that I implement way more into my game plan, because I've noticed that a lot of people try to wake up and mash on Victor. So having this setup is going to be really good for me, where I'm just going to be able to like cut that shit out and make sure that people know that you got to hold this and you got to lab it out. Now, there is one counter to it that you will have to be careful of. Let's set them up to not wake up and turn this off as well. So if your opponent decides to just not move, so if you see your opponent do this, obviously this will whiff. If you do see your opponent just lay on the ground, this is your option that you can do to it to counter it. So there's layers to this. If you see that, you would just do that instead. So if they decide to lay on the ground, up 1+2 will be the counter to that, and they're going to eat that damage on the ground. So they have to be careful with laying on the ground. So always remember that. If you see your opponent start to lay down, up 1+2, big damage. The last thing that we're going to get to, and then we're going to call it on this video, is wall setups. Now, wall setups are very good for Victor because they provide a lot of pressure and chip, and it really puts your opponent in a bad spot. So we're going to go to the wall here and show this. So there's two specific setups that I use where I really do feel that it's super strong for Victor. And like I said, if you're not using this, you need to start implementing this into your game plan. So this comes off of any launcher. And obviously, if you get to the wall, you would do it something like this. As you can see, this setup beats side roll left, and we'll show you again just so you see it. It also beats side roll right. And you become +4 on block, obviously, because you're down 2 in EI stance is plus. So this is a very good setup. The only problem that I have been seeing with this when I was using it is that if you do the setup too early, there'd be times where it whiffs. So obviously I can't like show it off here, but if I did it like super fast, that would end up whiffing, and then my opponent would get a full combo launch because I'm in stance, and obviously you can't block when you're in stance. So be careful with that. But we do have a newer setup that does counter it entirely. So this beats side rolls. So if you do this instead, this will end up beating side rolls, and obviously you get a nice little 14 damage there. Now, there is a counterplay to it. If your opponent does back quick roll, this is what will happen. They have to hold this pressure still. So no matter what, they're holding this pressure, but they are at a standing position now. Now, if you really want to get crazy, we're going to pop heat, and if you look at the top right for Kazuya's health, pay attention to the chip that Victor does while he's in heat. That's a lot of chip. And with that having a lot of chip comes then if your opponent decides to press. Now, if they get hit by this, then you can have the same setup here. We'll do it again, and you would just loop it, right? So you have a lot of leeway when it comes to these wall setups. Now, we'll show you it one more time. And I brain farted for a second. Now, here's the biggest difference. If you see in the bottom left there, it said +8 on block. So when Victor's in heat, he gains more plus frames on his EI stance, right? So now something like this comes out in 16 frames. Now, if you do this with heat, oops, if you do this in heat, this becomes +8 then. So now with that becoming +8, this becomes guaranteed because this comes out in 16 frames. Obviously, if you do it in heat, +8, you can do the math yourself. It comes out way faster than your opponent decides to press a button. And if they do decide to press a button, like I said, you would just loop the scenario again, and boom. Obviously, though, remember, in heat, +8. Without heat, it is +4. So when you have no heat, this is guaranteed. With heat, this will be guaranteed. So these two setups here are something I've been using a lot, especially the newer setup, because this right here, this right here is just fantastic, man. And the chip that it provides too is very scary, especially when, like I said, when you're in chip. Super scary for a character like Victor, because then now that's guaranteed if they decide to press, and you still have a little bit heat left, where if they decide to press after you losing your turn, you do have that as well, because the little heat that you will have left will give you enough where you could do this. So let's see. Could always end up doing that if they decide to take their turn back, because obviously this boom has some weird iframes on it, and you'll be able to just fly up into the sky and boom, they won't be able to touch you. So yeah, that's it. We're gonna close out the video here. I really do enjoy what we're figuring out with Victor, and like I said, that last person's comment really gave me a different outlook on Victor when it came to his counter hit game and how to approach the character, because obviously the guy is God of Destruction. I am only Tekken King. Obviously, I haven't been playing a lot of Tekken Rank because I've been sitting in the lab way more, but it's been fun, like, seeing what everybody else has to say when it comes to playing Victor. Like, higher level people or lower level people have different perspectives, and it's fantastic to always see what you guys think down below. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This was very fun to make. A little bit of a longer video, but I mean, you guys are probably used to that by now. So I hope you guys really do enjoy this one and take what you're seeing, obviously, and apply it to your game. Always, always, always take what you see and apply it so you can always get better. That's what we're all here for. We're all here to get better at the end of the day, and we all want to become better Tekken players. So there you guys go. Hope you guys enjoy it again. This will be coming out on a Wednesday, so we'll see you guys then, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out, guys.